Hey Soup, it's Claytano. Thank you guys so much for tuning in as always. So yesterday I posted a video of the top 5 NAT 5s and why, and today is going to be the follow-up video to that, which is the top 5 NAT 4s and why. And basically these 5 monsters, even though they're 4-star monsters, are basically changing the meta as well. If these 5 4-star monsters weren't in the game, you'd see a completely different meta altogether. Okay, so first off, let's talk about Orion, who is number 5 on the list. Okay, this little guy has proven to be a staple in many different G3 defenses, and the reason why he is a staple in G3 defenses is because he gives more of a utility than, say, a Bernard does. Even though Bernard might be faster, even though a Bernard might have faster base speed to be able to make it faster based on the Swift set that you put on it, Orion is still a better option in G3 because he offers a buff removal skill on the first turn that completely, I mean, I don't want to say counters will defenses, but if you build it with enough accuracy, it definitely is a huge threat against people that use full will offenses. I said defenses earlier, but I meant offenses. So when people attack into defenses that have full will on their entire offense, like mine, Orion poses a threat to that type of offense because he can remove will. He is going to set down a debuff on you as well, which is either defense breaking, HP blocking, or health blocking. Heal blocking, I guess, would be a better way to put it, but heal blocking. And then there's one other, which is the stun. Yeah, the stun is also super useful as well. So having those 3 abilities that you can put on as well as remove buffs is the reason why he is more used now in arena defenses than Bernard. Bernard still makes an appearance in offenses with Lucians, but Orion is still the defense attack bar booster of choice when it comes to 4-star monsters. Also, the fact that he provides a full turn or a full AoE defense break is also super crazy that he has that, and then a built-in violent proc off his first skill where you could be super fast, and then also at the same time you're boosting your own turns up because you have a violent proccing skill in turn 1. Also, what happens is if you derp on the first turn and your Orion uses the first skill instead of his third skill, which is what he's supposed to be using, he has a 30% chance to also go again and do his third skill on the second time, or even the third time if he still derps. Even though he's on Swift, he still has an extra layer of just cushion where he can use the correct skills is what he's supposed to be using. So that's mainly why Orion is great, but also the fact that he is a key component in a lot of Guild War teams on both Guild War offense and Guild War defense, and the fact that he is extremely important when picking your live arena matches. When you have Orion on your team, you have a clear advantage most of the time against people that don't have Orion. Of course, there's a bunch of counters to Orion, but as far as a 4-star goes, he is super solid, and you would be a fool to use. Basically, you'd be a fool to use Bernard instead of Orion. As long as you can get it fast enough, as long as you have it on will as well, that's the key. Okay, moving on, because we're not going to spend too much time on Orion, let's talk about a monster that has recently come up within the past month or so after he got buffed, and that is Amdua. Okay, I made a video fighting Nightly Gaming's defense about a week ago, I guess, and I talked a little bit about Amdua and what makes him extremely, useful, and basically just being a free ticket in the G3 if you have, of course, the other monsters around it. So it's not technically a free ticket, but it's a very solid way to get into these higher ranks just by having this monster. And if you guys remember yesterday, I talked about how Tiana is super overpowered, and a lot of G3 players use Tiana in their teams because it, again, removes all the will on everybody else without fail. But what Amduat does is he has a third skill here that actually boosts his own attack bar by 25% every single time the opponent gets a turn. So if you have it built fast enough where you can go right after the Tiana goes, the opposing Tiana, that is when Amduat shines, because Tiana's so stupid sometimes that she removes all the buffs on her own monsters, even the will, where it leaves you susceptible to Amduat to just cut in there. And not only does he, offer an AoE stun because his third skill is AoE, but the fact that it, his second skill. I can't count today. All right, so his second skill, not only does it provide an AoE stun because it's AoE, but the fact that it reduces your opponent's attack bar at the same time. Even if it misses one, hits another, hits one, misses another, it's doing its job because it's breaking up that combo that a lot of higher end players are using that is so speed tuned, where if you get your attack bar reduced by 30%, your Sierra's not going to go, your Bomber's not going to go, your Galleon's not going to go. It's not going to go in the right order, which is why Amduat is completely unique, and really nothing else in the game offers what Amduat creates. Okay, and I'm saying his name right this time. I'm not calling him Amudat, but it's definitely Amduat. And the fact that he also does it on his first skill, so even if he doesn't use his second skill and derps with his first skill after Tiana goes, then he still potentially can reduce somebody's attack bar. And again, if you get one person, if you say the team is using a Sierra, Tiana, Libli, and Galleon arena offense, which is currently one of the best offenses in the game that it's very hard to counter. If you have Amduat, what's going to happen is Tiana goes, Amduat can cut in between, or if he doesn't cut in between, Galleon might go, and then you have 50% attack bar boost at that time because two of their players went. So now you have a more of a chance to go in between. If you hit, let's say, Sierra. If you hit the Sierra, you reduce its attack bar, and that gives your monsters enough time to cut in between and potentially remove the bombs, come back and stun the Sierra with something else on your AD, and or heal up if anything happens. Say if you attack the other bomber and Sierra goes first, again, you're basically screwing the other offense, because if Sierra goes first, she's only placing one bomb down. She can't detonate all of the bombs from everybody on the same team. It's just her own bomb, and that right there alone is giving you a chance to counter back. So crazy monster here, but you have to know how to use it for it to be completely broken. Okay? So just Amduat completely changes the game as far as arena defense goes with that respect. Now, the third monster on the list here is probably no surprise to most people. It's actually Molly, who is the light mermaid. And really, she's just for arena defense. So she counters mostly every single type of arena defense. Arena offense, because she gives the ability to create a glancing effect on every single one of her teammates on arena defense. So any type of cleave AO, any type of Lucian AO, any type of bruiser AO where you're trying to nuke down one monster at a time, which is very inefficient and not really so much use in higher end arena. But even still, she offers a counter to those types of comps as well. The only thing that she doesn't really counter is bomb AOs, but again, we already talked about bomb AOs, and there's not really too much counter to them, so we don't really worry about those too much. But Molly, as far as Molly is concerned, she has this passive, and it's a passive, of course, and not only does it do that, but it also increases the HP by 10%. Recovers the ally with the lowest HP ratio by 10% every time she takes a turn. So it's kind of like, I don't know, Perna, I guess I would equate it to, but it's only just doing the one monster that has the lowest HP ratio. And then also she has a shield that removes all beneficial effects and casts a shield that's super strong as well. Because if you have a shield on a monster and you also have the ability to glance on the monster and you also remove, say, any of the the unbeneficial effects like defense break, it makes it super hard to kill even a squishy monster because you gotta have all these different things going into place, and the chances are you're gonna glance. I mean, if it says 20%, but it definitely feels a lot more than 20%. But then there's another thing, man. It doesn't just stop there. It doesn't just stop there with having this sort of setup. And we'll come back to this in just a second because I want to make one more note about that. But as far as the first skill, it removes the beneficial effect with 50% chance. And the damage is based on your max HP. So she is still going to be a threat because if you build her with HP, which is what she should be built with, she is not only going to be doing damage, but she's also going to be removing buffs at the same time. So if you have attack power boost, and you're trying to kill my AD, and I take attack power boost off of all your specific monsters that need it, man, it's just so crippling. It is really crippling to have that, to say the least. Now, another thing that makes her really overpowered is that when she's on defense, she doesn't really have too much AI to worry about going wrong. So you can definitely rely on her using the correct skills. You can rely on her using her passive because of course she's going to be using her passive. Why wouldn't she be using it? Unless there's a Tessarian or something like an Isis, which nobody uses. Nobody uses that in higher end G3 arena because it's just slow and inefficient to build. So you don't really need to worry about that. But as far as the skills, she's gonna be using her shield anytime somebody is low. She's gonna be using her first skill. So there's less that can go wrong, is what I'm saying. There's less that can go wrong, and it's more reliable than going with, say, a nuker speed comp where you have to have all of the skills line up perfectly in order to win your AD and have that be successful. So moving on from Molly though, a monster that completely changed the arena offense meta when he first came out and still is today is the second person on the list, or number 2 spot on the list, which is Galleon. The fact that Galleon has the third skill ability to completely defense break the entire team for 2 turns, also increase your attack power for all of your allies for 2 turns, and not touch the enemy, and not potentially proc any sort of passives or proc any sort of revenges or nemesis runes or anything like that, makes him overpowered. Just that one skill. You don't need anything else on Galleon to make him overpowered, but they gave him even more. So the Galleon is like, for any sort of arena offense not involving Lucian, Galleon is pretty much going to be on there because it offers pretty much everything you need in order to be able to counter most arena defenses. Because say you have let's say a Camilla. A lot of people were asking me about Camilla. Why Camilla wasn't on the list yesterday is because Galleon, which is a 4-star monster, can single-handedly counter Camilla if he's built right. And just the fact that such an attainable monster is a hard counter to Camilla is the main reason why Camilla wasn't on that list. Don't get me wrong, Camilla is super overpowered AF, trust me. But it's just not in the top 5 anymore from what it used to be, and that's just the way it is. But here's what Galleon offers. Okay, the reason why he's a counter to Camilla is because he has this skill that deals a powerful attack to an enemy and absorbs 30% of its attack bar. It absorbs it, meaning if the Camilla has Nemesis runes, which is almost a standard on all Camillas, you might see a couple different with Revenge, but really Nemesis is the way to go on Camilla. The fact that Galleon is stealing the attack bar just completely removes that effect where Camilla is increasing her HP every time she takes a turn. So if she violents less, if she gets less turns, she's going to be violenting less, and she's going to be healing herself less. The only problem is that a lot of people think that they have to build Galleon with a lot of damage, a lot of HP, and a lot of crit rate, a lot of crit damage, and that's not the case. You want Galleon to be as low crit rate as possible and have high attack and high HP. And that's the way I built my Galleon, and he's completely negated any threat that any Camilla single-handedly brings to my arena offense. And I encourage you guys to do the same, because if you build your Galleon with crit rate, you're going to be removing your own defense break off of the Camilla. If you build it with less crit rate, you're going to be still being able to land that defense break. You're going to be able to land that attack bar decrease and absorb it. And that's another thing. So that's just an example as far as Galleon's third skill. Say Galleon actually touched the monster on the third skill, it gives you a chance to crit, and it gives you a chance to remove the buffs on the Camilla. So that's just an example of what I mean by what makes it even more overpowered, is that it doesn't touch the monsters. Okay, and the fact that it also has a 75% chance to decrease attack on the first skill as well. So if you happen to miss one of your things on your third skill, one of your defense breaks on your third skill, you also have another chance to do it on your first skill if you violent proc, which is really nice and really overpowered. And really, if you think about the game without Galleon now, what would you be doing? Really, Galleon is like, if you take out Galleon and leave all the other monsters that have been added to the game, what could you possibly turn to for your arena offense that would be any sort of relevant? Because if you use the other defense breakers like Lure or even say Orion to AoE defense break, it's not going to give you enough because you don't have an attack bar booster, attack power booster at the same time, at the same skill, along with all the other things that I just listed out for Galleon. So that's why he's number 2 on the list, and super, super insane. But if Galleon didn't exist, who would we all turn to? We turn to what a lot of people turn to now, which is the number 1 4-star in the game, hands down, and that is Lucian. He's been the number 1 4-star monster in the game pretty much since it came out, and I've been playing pretty much since the game came out a couple months afterwards. And Lucian has always been something that you have to build your complete arena defense around, and it really just annoys me to no end. You can have a defense that counters bomb AOs. You can have a defense that counters cleave AOs with Zeros, Alicia, Teshar, any sort of other huge nuking monster. You can have a defense that counters all of that. But if you don't have a defense that counters Lucians, you're not going to be successful. Your AD is not going to be successful because you're going to get lit up by all of the people that have Lucians ruined, because it's just so easy. There's okay, maybe not in Conqueror or Fighter do a lot of people have 2 Lucians, but come on guys, it's a 4-star monster. A lot of people have 2 of them. You have to be able to build your arena. You have to change the way you think about the entire game, because Lucian is a monster. If you took Lucian out of the game, or if you took the amount of damage and threat that he brings with ignoring the defense of all, like, are you kidding me? You would see a completely different Summoner's War. And the fact that that is the case is why Lucian is the #1 4-star monster on the list. If you take out any other monster, say Molly, Amda, Orion, you're not gonna see too much of a change in Summoner's War. But Lucian and Galleon, those two, man, they're really on a separate level by themselves. If you think about dungeons, even not even just arena focused. If you think about, I mean, I use Lucian in Necro, I use Lucian in Giants B10, I use Galleon in Giants B10, I use Galleon in DB10. If you think about that, like, think about how much harder the game would be without these two units. And the fact that these guys are there, I don't ever see a possible change to these monsters. Of course, would I want to remove the threat of Lucian in the game? Yes, I would love to see a threat like Lucian removed, because it's just so silly to have to always think about, you know, what am I gonna do if somebody tries to Lucian me on my defense? Trust me, it's the most annoying shit you'll ever just think about. Anytime you're building a arena defense, you're like, what if somebody Lucians me? And you're like, well, I'd get fucked. Then, oh god, I would love it. I would love it if Lucian just wasn't as much of a threat. I use Lucian myself, and he is, I mean, I Lucian pretty much 99% of all Conqueror defenses as I'm going up to Guardian. But then as I get to like G2-ish is when the defenses stop being Lucianable, and that's really why they're G2, G3 is because they're not Lucianable. It's I don't even know what to say. Like, I don't think that Comtux can even do anything about Lucian right now, because so many people rely on Lucian. It's not even fun. Even people that have all the other monsters in the game, Tiana's, you know, everything else, they still revert back to Lucians for their AO. I mean, what is that? What is that? It's ridiculous, okay? But just one thing that I wanted to quickly hit on before I finish this video is, I now know, you know what? I'm gonna save it for a different video. We'll save that for tomorrow or the day after. So anyway, guys, I hope this video helps. It just kind of showcases the top 5 4-star monsters in the entire game right now, and what makes them the top 5. If you have your own opinions, of course, definitely drop a comment below. I'm always open for discussion. This isn't anything complaining. Okay, a lot of people thought that I was complaining in my last 5-star video, but it's not. I just want to get the conversation going. And I don't know if you guys noticed or not, but I don't comment back on a lot of my videos because there's just too many comments to get to. But on my last video, I commented back a lot because I like to talk about this stuff with people and get their ideas on it. So comment, please. And I want to talk to you about this. I want to talk to you about the 4 stars and maybe some changes that we can do to them or suggest about them to make Arena more fun, different, something. I don't know, just whatever. Just talk about it, just discussion. That's all I'm looking for. Anyway, guys, aside from that, I appreciate y'all tuning in and watching and spending your time here listening to me rant. As always, stay soupy, don't be potatoes, like, subscribe so you don't miss the next one tomorrow. And I appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace, later, bye-bye. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, because really, why not? I also infest other areas of the internet like Facebook, Snapchat, and Instagram, but the best place to ask me a question or just to tell me how much you hate me would be during my live stream every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Hope to see you guys there, and as always, stay soupy and don't be potatoes.